We continue now with part two of our conversation with NBA great Bill Russell. He is on the cover of Sports Illustrated because his team, the Boston Celtics, has been chosen the dynasty, the team of the century. I am pleased to have him on this broadcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let me pick up on philosophy then.
Okay.
You writers, you say, you know, I'm not going to let their judgment of me influence me. You don't want to sign autographs, or you didn't for a long time, you may still not, because you thought that the exchange ought to have more to it than one person signing his name and giving it to another person. Correct? I'm
Yes.
looking for a theme here.
Well, you could take, I could say, okay, I'm going to sign autographs. And according to the place and time, there may be 50 people who want the autograph.
Yeah.
So I sign it and hand it, sign it and hand it, and there's no contact at all. But they go away with the illusion that there was contact. And one of the things in my whole life, I think, is that we're all part of this universe. And what happens to you happens to me. And we're bound together, just as birth, all of us. And so that if I encounter you, I should at least touch you, and vice versa.
Listen to this. This is by Frank DeFord, a sports writer you do respect.
Yes.
Very much.
He's my friend, so that's another thing.
Well, we'll see here.
Okay.
It was 30 years. This is the lead story in the piece in which your team is chosen as the best team of this century. That's saying a lot. There have been some huge dynasties, Yankees and others. This is DeFord about you, the ringleader. It was 30 years ago, and the car containing the old retired basketball player and the young sports writer, that would be you and maybe DeFord, stopped at a traffic light on the way to the airport in Los Angeles. Of course, in the nature of things, old players aren't that much older than young writers. The old player said, "I'm sorry, I'd like to be your friend." The young writer said, "But I thought we were friends." "No, I'd like to be your friend, and we can really be friendly. But friendship takes a lot of effort if it's going to work, and we're going off in different directions in our lives, so no, we really can't be friends." And that was as close as I ever got to being on Bill Russell's team. Your point is you disagree with DeFord about that because you thought what?
Well, that you, friendship is the most rewarding experience you can have. And my friends that I have, I like the fact that sometimes I wake up and I just think about them and wonder if they're okay.
Yeah.
And wonder, you know, and I just think about them, you know, and try to contact them. And some of my friends now, I may not talk to them for 6 months, but they constantly go through my thoughts.
And when you pick up the phone, it's like you just talked yesterday.
Yes.
How many you got like that?
I try to keep it small as possible. There may be 15 people, and that's
your age, younger, older, mostly men, mostly women, or everything?
It's like you can't pinpoint it.
Across all boundaries, ethnic,
Yes.
racial,
Right.
gender,
Right.
politics,
Right.
everything.
Like one of my best friends is my daughter. And I think that I'm one of her best friends. When her mother and I went our separate ways, she was about 10, and she told me she was going to stay with me. And I said, you know, like, what can I do with this? I said, you're 10 years old now. In a couple of 3 years, your whole world is going to change. Your biology, your thinking, everything. And I won't be able to help you because I don't know anything about little girls.
Right.
And she says, I want to stay anyway. I said, okay. Only thing I can promise you is that, first, I love you, naturally. The only thing else I promise you is that when you leave here to go into the world, you will be able to take care of yourself better than any person you'll ever meet.
Was it true?
Yes, she made me very proud. She went to Georgetown and then went to Harvard Law School. And
she could take care of herself.
Yes.
Now, let me just take you back. This is what surprised me of all the things you've said. You said you led a sheltered and protected life. In Louisiana, Monroe, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Before Oakland, And then in Oakland, you saw discrimination visited on your father, grandmother. How could you be sheltered? You saw that the world wasn't fair.
Well, as a kid, I didn't know it was unfair. And second, my father, my grandfather, and my mother wouldn't take that, wouldn't accept that. And that's part of the reason we moved to California, is that my father says that I am a man and I will be treated as such. And we think that, his family thinks that if he had stayed in Louisiana, he would not have got to be an old man.
They are now saying that the Sports Illustrated, the Celtics were the greatest team in any sport in the 20th century.
I agree with that.
In any sport.
Yeah. And I think that Red Auerbach was the greatest coach in the history of professional sports.
Because?
Because he took
coached
his
that
team.
team.
He coached that team, but he had so much impact on that team. I mean, it's like, let's say it this way. Now, you do show once every night, right?
Right.
Some nights it just doesn't work for you. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Okay?
Some nights are better than others, we would say.
Okay. I mean, it's like you go through the show and you do a good job, but you know it's a real struggle.
Right.
Well, the same way in professional athletics. The greater the player, the more games he's able to show up ready to play. But nobody's perfect. And so I always estimated that the great players show up 75% of the time. The other 25% of the time, it's a struggle. You know what I mean? The numbers may look okay, but things aren't working.
And the less than great players show up 50% of the time.
Or 30.
Or 30.
And so Auerbach used to see, you know, one of the things in pro basketball, I don't know about it in other sports, but that groove can become a rut very easy. You know, one day you got this groove, the next day that same thing is a rut. And he'd see me start to wander off. And he'd call me in and say, hey, let's get back on track.
I got to close, but let me just ask you this. You made a 20-minute speech to the Boston Celtics, request of Rick Pitino. What did you tell him?
Well, the first thing I said, Will, everybody in this room is rich.
And nobody objected.
Well, I says, even if you get minimum salary, it's like $250, $275 a year.
Yeah, right.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot.
I said, but so now, do you want to play? And you know, in this league, you're paid to win, not to play. And so, if you don't try to contribute to winning, the coach has got to cover his own butt. He's not going to play you, or he's going to get rid of you, because he's paid to win. And if you can't contribute to helping him win, there's no reason for him to have you around. And I says, you know, a lot of people talk about egos and egos. The only legitimate ego is a team ego.
So all you tried to do was to give them the sense of team spirit that you and Red Auerbach confused in the Celtics that won 10 championships. Bottom line. Let them understand what a team meant and how, if you understood team, you have a better chance of bringing home in the end, which will be the most important thing to you. I notice as we talk, you still have at least one championship ring on there.
Two. This is my rookie year.
Right.
And this is my last year.
Right. All right.
It's a bracket, and I'm.
Oh, I just said that. I said to you once that your rookie year and your last year were your two best years, and that's represented by the fact that those are the two rings you have on.
You know, it's like I wear these things all the time, and I probably take them with me when I go. One of the few things I take.
When they put you down in the
because two things: the memory of the guys that I played with, and our accomplishments are emotionally so rewarding for the guys I played with, and egotistically so rewarding by our accomplishments. And so it's like I'm extraordinarily proud of,
what you did together.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, it's a joy.
Bill Russell, thank you for joining us.